pine coney, really IPA, and I like those. I like those a lot. Not everyone. Some people like an IPA that's a little less than that. We'll get into that as we go on. And then, so to start off, we're going to go with Evolution, which they're going to come in, and I think they're going to bring some samples, but we're lucky that they're going to do some casks for us, Firkins, and develop some beers just for us, which is huge. They're going to do a mint julep and what's the other one?
The Tupelo honey and peach beer.
Honey and peach. So that'll go real fast. Yeah, so that'll be fun. So IPAs are really what people in Philadelphia are drinking right now, and that's probably been in the last 5 years. It's gained a lot of strength. So that's number one on the top of this list, and then I want to jump down to the bottom, which is Fat Tire. That's a New Belgium. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
It's West Coast, right?
It's Colorado. It's
Is it?
it's close enough.
Fort Collins.
The New Belgium is really malty, and it's considered very clean, very crisp, and people love that it's coming into this area. So that's why I have it coming in, because it's going to be flying off the shelves. Another thing that will come in and fly off the shelves are pumpkin beers. Not everyone's a fan of pumpkin beers, but they are popular. So you'll have information for pumpkin beers when they come out and which brand we're going with. And again, we're going to go on Beer Advocate, and we're going to study them, and we're going to have courses for you guys as the time goes on. Because to me, beer is like wine when you're pairing stuff. And we'll get there. I mean, not everyone in this room has probably been involved with pairings of beer and wine and food and everything like that. But that's the essential goal, is to get to those points. So what about, can someone look up Abita Purple Haze for me right now on Beer Advocate?
Whoever finds it first, you can just...
Whoever finds it first gets a beer.
Yeah.
You're not 21. All right, so Abita, Purple Haze, you found it? Okay, so describe it to me, sell it to me. Okay. Okay, so that's the direction I was going. So it's from the south, right? So that one's going to fly off the shelf, and that's going to be one that is going to be very popular in here. And what I want you guys to do on your own time, I know you're very busy, but casually just start checking out beers in the south, like Cigar City, right, or Coppertail, Nick, right?
Yeah.
Like those beers are...
Coppertail's from outside of
Tampa.
It's Tampa.
Yeah. So there's beers right now that are very forward in the south that I want you guys to come to us and say, hey, I did some research on this, I got a 6-pack, or I got it whatever, and I tried it. Can we bring it on, or can we try it out? And I would love to. I'm very open to you guys trying something out. We bring it in, and if it sells, we'll do it. That's the beauty of having a rotating craft list. So I want you guys to get behind it, but I want you guys to study it, because the more you're educated, like all this we've been going over, the more money you'll make. So that being said, I'll hand it over to you for styles of beer.
So the traditional styles of beer that are probably the most popular, or are the most popular, your lager. Pilsner is actually probably the most popular beer in America, and that's going to be your Bud Lights.
I'm going to pass this around, we're going to smell it. You want to sip it? Go ahead.
Your Bud Lights, your the really actually the probably more of the lower end, the more commercially made beers. What we're doing with the beer list, as well as getting some brands that are from down south, as well as getting some local brands that we know that are going to sell. We're going to carry quality, and we're going to carry something that can adapt to every type of beer drinker. So you have a guy who comes in, he sits in the jazz lounge, and he's trying to watch a nice show. He wants his Corona, he's going to be able to get his Corona. But the guy sitting next to him, who is one of these craft beer enthusiasts who wants to come down and drink a heavy stout or porter, we're going to be able to really accommodate both. As Todd said, the beer menu is going to be constantly changing. There's something that, since this was printed yesterday, it's changed. Since this morning, it's changed. We're going to have a set beer list that we open with that all of you guys are going to be able to access and be able to look at and understand what is what and, what we're opening with. But, we're not expecting you guys to all be, beer aficionados, but we are going to expect you guys to know enough that if someone sits down at the table and says, what's going to go well with my wreck fish, something that you can tell them this is the style of beer that I think would go. If there's a spiciness, it goes well with an IPA. If you have some sweetness, something that's really going to complement the food. And we're going to be able to offer all of it, all different styles too. Large format bottles, cans, draft, the casts. We have Evolution Brewing that's going to come in. They're doing a beer specifically for us, the Exile on Broad Street Red Ale. And then they're also doing 2 cast firkins. Does anyone know what a firkin is? No one knows what a firkin is? Firkin is basically,
It's a small version of it. It's like a cask conditioned small batch of beer. It's like a sixtel is usually like a couple cases of beer. This is very, very descriptive, and it picks up its own flavor. And they age this for at least 6 months. It's very, very special to get a firkin. It's hard to do, and they can be specific down to different tastes per firkin. Even if it's the same beer, something gets inoculated with a certain strain of yeast or bacterium, changes the entire firkin. So the fact that it's literally, it looks like a bubble keg. So I'm talking like it's maybe, I want to say like 10, 11 liters, maybe. It's little. They stand about this high, and they're about like the same size as like a barrel would be, but they're real short. And they're very specific, and it's very cool to have firkins on draft.
Because it doesn't go into the beer line. It goes right from the bung to the...
Yeah,
right.
We're pumping it right out of
tap.
it.
So it's within, they usually last maybe a week at most. So if you get a firkin of something, it goes pretty quick.
Yeah.
So that's something definitely on the menu we're going to want to push.
Can a firkin be any style of beer?
Yes.
Yes.
You can. It has to be not any style. I should describe. Most of the time, it's an ale. Lagers and ales differentiate between the two styles because one has to be fermented at a colder temperature, which is what the term lager actually means. It means to cavern. So it has to be done, and it takes twice as long to make a lager than it does a normal traditional ale. Ales take about 2 to 3 weeks. Lagers take about 4 to 8. It's kind of cool that the different processes, but ales, because they are shorter time span, fermentation and actual carbonation in a firkin comes from the bacterium and the release of that yeast eating up the sugars and producing CO2.
And that's why, like back in the day, before there was refrigeration, and they were drinking ales. They keep a lot longer. They're quick to brew. Basically they keep. They don't spoil. They can, you can keep them warm for a really long time. Firkins, the easiest way to describe it is an extreme microbrew. So it's a very small batch of something. And we're going to have 2 of them. And they're going to be available, and they probably will be rotating as well, I imagine. The ones we're opening.
It depends on production.
Right. If we're selling them and they're flying off, we might have a couple different ones every month. But it's going to be something that not a lot of places in the area are offering. We're especially with the relationship we've built with Evolution, they're casting us our own specific Exile Red that you can't get anywhere else but here at South. It's going to be our specific beer that they're brewing at their brewery in Salisbury, Maryland for us. The Evolution Firkins are going to be the same thing. I don't think anywhere else in the neighborhood it has Firkins. I think there's probably maybe a handful of places in the entire city that are offering it.
Usually Firkins pop up right around Philly Beer Week. We want to stay ahead of that. Not saying we're going to be known as, a craft beer bar, but it's going to be part of our the whole program. So.
Can I just ask you guys to speak up a little bit? I'm having a-
Sure.
Yeah, no problem.
You can move over.
I guess I
There you
could.
go.
Well, I figured if I was people back
Can you guys hear us? Not really.
Well, come on up. Fill in the sides.
Come on up.
We need you to hear us.
So, that's the program. The program we're starting set. It's going to always change. With beer, I think that it's very engaging to get to know your table. One of the questions I always like to ask people, well, what kind of style of beer do you like? And then you can have 3 or 4, in your back pocket, so to speak, that you can say, oh, well, I can, recommend the Russian River, or I can recommend the New Belgium. Just get to know Beer Advocate, and when I send out a new beer, really study it and study, the taste, not necessarily the look, but the smell and the taste. That's going to give you the best adjectives to sell to the people. I always did well when people said, what kind of beer did you like? Because then I can go into different regions of IPAs, different, some are very floral, which is weird. You wouldn't think flowers when you think of beer, but they're definitely in there. So, continue, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, because you're not going to be able,
Make sure you're speaking up.
you're not going to be able to. I mean, our goal is to please every type of beer drinker. So every person that comes in the door, if they want to drink a beer, we're going to have something for them too. But it's a lot of people, especially in Philly nowadays, they drink a Blue Moon and all of a sudden they're like a craft beerologist, which it's not even a craft beer. But you're going to have to be very clear with them and say, we have those options. We have a Yingling, we're going to have a Corona, we're going to have a Heineken. But if someone comes in and is like, oh, I like porters or I like stouts or whatever, that's what I personally would really like everyone to be a little bit more versed on and be able to spit out a couple adjectives of, the Edmund Fitzgerald Porter is a heavy, malty, caramely, delicious beer, and not big, and because a lot of that's going to be your first question. And someone's like, oh, what kind of beers do you have? I'm like, oh, do you drink craft beer? Yes. Well, what kind of beers do you like? And then you're going to need to be able to approach them with like, all right, so we have X, Y, and Z. This is one I think you would like the most. I don't think we're going to be doing very much tasters or anything like that.
I have no problem with you guys at the bar giving out a sample. So if you're at the table and there's, a pumpkin that somebody wants to try or they're not too sure of it, just go ahead and you guys you're empowered. I'm giving you guys complete empowerment to be like, hold on, I'll be right back, try this. And then, if you want to go up one level and try to make more money with these people, in the middle of their dinner, go over and get something that's similar to it and say, hey, try this too. And you can really go on a journey with people with beer and you'll make a lot more money. Right?
Yeah.
Yes. To put it mildly, and there's certain things that you were saying, the Wreckfish, like we have the PBC Walt Whit right now. Yes, I believe that was sold out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the Walt Whit would actually go very well with that. I just looked over the brief synopsis of what the Wreckfish was coming with, and it'd be a great beer to pair with it. And that's just real simple. I just took the 2 seconds to read what the ingredients were, and I love beer. So if you guys have any kind of preference on beer stuff, you should be able to be like, hey, that sounds like it'd be good with this.
Why would it be good with the Wreckfish?
Because the spice note, well, I know, because I know Walt Whit. Walt Whit's like a wheat beer. So a wheat beer with the spice notes in it would pair well with the stuff that the accoutrements that are going with it. It's like with the white wine sauce.
Slow down, speak up.
Sorry. It's paired with, it has white wine in it, and there's what was the other things? Let me look exactly.
It's got a fricassee. It's
fricassee. So like a lighter style
it.
beer would go well with this. So you think what would pair well with a wine? Same principle with beer. Something on a lighter note, like same thing with wine with this. You could pair a very nice white wine with this. So what's similar to white wine? Wheat beers. Same thing with pilsners. There's so many notes of beer that can pair well with food. That just happens to be the one that I was like, oh wow, that'd be a great pairing because we have it on. So I mean, obviously I